just really took off in a big way. And so, vibe coding has certainly changed my life.
Do we need to still have real coders?
I think it's much more powerful than people think.
So John, recently Joe Rogan had the CEO of Replit on his show, and he asked for examples of people who are really nailing it with vibe coding, and the CEO of Replit came up with you. So how did that happen?
It was kind of a surprise. I had somebody text me and they said, "Hey, were you just on the Joe Rogan show?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they said that Amjad Masad, who's the CEO of Replit, a great vibe coding platform, had just mentioned me, right? So I 6 or 7 months ago started a company called the General AI Proficiency Institute, and I started it kind of it was just like a Thursday morning LinkedIn post, and I was like, I'm going to see if I can do something here, right? I've gotten pretty good with AI. I've been working on it for years and consulting with lots of companies, and I said, I wonder, I'm also an entrepreneur, and I also like challenges. So all that kind of came together with this Thursday morning random post. I was like, I wonder if I could build a piece of software starting today. And by the way, I don't know how to code. I'm not a developer. I'm just a business guy. I'm an entrepreneur. And I wonder if I can get my first customer by tomorrow. And that, pretty amazing challenge, right? But set unreasonable goals and you can do some pretty incredible things. So I got busy and I posted about it, and tons of people were following me, probably to just watch me fail. And anyway, I worked all day Thursday till about midnight. I was like, all right, I'm tired, I go to bed. Got up Friday, worked until 3 a.m. and I wasn't quite done with it to where I was really going to be able to get some customers. And so Saturday, spent another about 8 or 9 hours doing it. And then launched. I actually launched at about 3 a.m. Saturday night, Sunday morning, right? And started my Facebook ad, and then Sunday took a break and went to church, hung out a little bit, and then Monday got up to check my ad to see how much money I'd made, right? And I had 130 people land on my site, and nobody had purchased. And I was like, man, what happened? Right? Why is it not converting? And then I found a little error in my Stripe implementation. And so maybe some people tried to buy, but I couldn't quite tell. But I was like, man, okay, I got to fix this. But I said, you know what? I'm a sales guy. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to figure this out anyway. And so I picked up my phone and started calling a few people. And by the end of the day, I had my first $15,000 client, right? And so from starting, Thursday morning, by Tuesday morning, I had my first client. So 4 or 5 days. From starting the first line of code, a fully functioning, General AI Proficiency Institute, which is all about, or GenAIPI, all about helping employees, businesses learn AI and, be able to measure, okay, the idea was, are you good at AI? Here's like an AI IQ test. If you get a bad score, I'm going to sell you some courses and you can start to learn. If you get a good score, I'm going to sell you an official certification from the General AI Proficiency Institute, right? GenAIPI.org, and it was supposed to be all official and amazing, and that was kind of the business plan I'd worked out. And anyway, within just 6 weeks or so, I had almost $200,000 of revenue from that, and it just really took off in a big way. And so, vibe coding has certainly changed my life. At this point, I've grown quite a bit since then.
Okay, well, fantastic. That's amazing. And the business is going strong. And so a company will use the product and maybe have all their employees do it and get them certified. That's the concept.
That was kind of the idea, yeah. What has ended up, one of the things you have to be really open to do with entrepreneurship in general, but certainly with vibe coding, where you're doing entrepreneurship at hyperspeed, right? You have to be willing to pivot. My initial idea was really going after maybe the individual employees, and maybe eventually, working with companies and assessing their entire team and things like that. That didn't actually. The individuals didn't pan out as much as I want. I've probably made $20,000 out of, at this point, close to $1 million. $20,000 has been from just the an individual gets on the website and is like, hey, I wonder how smart I am with AI, And but most of it has come from corporate training and assessment and certification, just really working with companies that want to implement AI, and they say, hey, how do I really move the needle here? And so we work with companies, very hands-on, even month to month, embedding AI leadership into their company and doing some pretty fun things there.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, thanks. And so John's here to talk to our vibe coders. We've tried to provide the same sort of opportunity for our university professors and other inventors at BYU, and we had some success with it this summer, getting products out there, and so we're going to do a lot more of that. So these are mostly new vibe coders from our office, working for our office, doing a great job, but we thought we'd do a Q&A, and thanks for being willing to learn a little more about how to start. So Hannah, you're a week or two into
Yes.
it. What's something that we can talk about that would help you?
I'm just kind of curious as to like the most complex projects that you've built or that you've seen other people build, and what these AI and vibe coding is capable of. And just if you could elaborate more on that, do we need to still have real coders, or is this like kind of have the same capabilities as that?
I have not found the limits yet. I think it's much more powerful than people think. But it comes down to how good are your prompts? How good are your questions that you're asking it, right? For example, one thing people forget about maybe is, is this GDPR compliant, or is this ADA compliant, or is this whatever, right? Mm-hmm. It's not going to think to do that on its own. A senior developer might know, oh, hey, I got to make sure I take care of these things, or I got to make sure I structure this database in a way that's going to allow for scale, right? So you have to do a good job of thinking ahead. Like, if this is really going to be a real business, what does it mean when I have 10 people on it, 100 people, 1,000, 1,000,000 people on it? And if you even just ask those exact questions to the AI, hey, how is the infrastructure? What is the setup like? Can this handle 1,000,000 people on it, right? Or what is the total capacity with the servers that I have set up and this whole setup right here, right? Do we need to structure this better? Can this be more efficient? Is it going to be super expensive? How will this scale? Will it break? What is going to break? And really just having discussions with your developer, right? I just call all AIs to me, ChatGPT, Grok, Replit, Lovable, all these different things. They're just my employees, right? And so having that discussion with your employee and just knowing to think ahead and then to think about, okay, what does that really mean? And if you haven't built a business before to $100 million, that's okay. Talk to the AI and say, hey, I want to scale this. I want to be able to make this much money. I want to be able to have this many users. What do I need to be thinking about, right? I don't know what I need to be thinking about. What do I really need to be thinking about to scale? So let me answer your question. One other piece. What is the most complex thing I've seen someone build? My system's decently complex, but I think one of my students built something that was really, really amazing. He's actually a former BYU volleyball coach, and he was here for about 10 years, and then finally said, all right, hey John, I'm going to do this entrepreneurship thing. He was a freshman roommate over in Helaman Halls. And so, good friend, but he decided to create something that's kind of like Cameo, where, you pay, to have Cameos where you pay to have a famous person say something to you, whatever. But he does it for volleyball, right? And so you're a high school volleyball student or something, and you record a video of yourself doing, a spike or a bump or whatever it is, and then you send it out, and you can request feedback from like the 25 best volleyball players in the United States. Right, and they'll give feedback for that, right? And so that's a pretty complex thing, because he built all this annotation stuff, and you can put the video, and you can record things, and then record video over the annotations, and then send them back with all the payments and automations. Pretty cool system, pretty complex actually, and he knows way less than I do about tech. Right? He's a volleyball coach. That's what he does well. But he was able to take the idea. He worked with me just on some training, whatever, and then he's taking it and making it a real thing. It's a real business now.
Wow, that's awesome.
Cool. And Hannah, you don't have to go specifics, but what type of thing are you working on right now?
I'm working on a nutritional tracking app that's based kind of around your insulin levels and what types of foods raise your insulin levels. If you have any feedback or tips
Rice,
or anything like that.
Reese's Pieces, bread. I'm type 1 diabetic, so I know all that stuff really well.
Cool.
But pretty technologically doable, right?
Technologically, you can knock that out of the park. Piece of cake.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Good. Well, and James, how about you? What are you working on, and what questions do you have?
Yeah, so my question is, what markets are really suited for AI app development, and how do we find the real problems that need to be solved using these tools?
So the answer to which markets are applicable here is E, all of the above. There is no market where this can apply. You have to remember that vibe coding is simply you're hiring a developer, right? And a developer can help you build a website about anything. It can help you build an automation. It can help you build a CRM, a database, a new whatever. You're not going to use it to build something physical, right? You want to build a nuclear power plant? ChatGPT can probably walk you through that. But it might be hard to get some of the materials for that,
Yeah.
but you could do it. I really believe AI could help walk you through that process. But here, this is talking about software, and software applies to every single business in the world, right? And so you're really asking a question in my mind that's more about entrepreneurship. What do people? What do you like? Do you like to mountain bike? Do you like nutrition? Do you like volleyball? Do you like business? Do you like accounting? Are you excited about space? What are you excited about? And then the way that I like to come up with ideas for businesses, I really love talking to AI about it. I'll say, hey, I'm really interested in this, this, and this. I've got a few ideas, or I'm trying to come up with a good idea in this space. Where are some gaps in the market right now? What are some real problems out there that really haven't been solved well? Oh, hey, this, and this. Okay, cool. Well, which one of those do you think will work best for some software or something? This is kind of what I have available to me and my resources. How can I do this? How big is this opportunity? Is this a $5 million business? Is this a $500 million business? Right? And so just have some good conversations with AI about it. But really, entrepreneurship, to put it bluntly, sucks. It's really hard. And you're going to wake up some days and say, man, I don't want to do this. I'm not making any money. I'm working crazy hard. And so if you chose a topic that was just, cool because it might make some money, money will not motivate you, I promise. But your interests, the things that you care about, that you get up and you're like, man, what are you thinking about when you're showering? Like that is, for me, it's kayaking. I want to be whitewater kayaking all the time, right? And I actually love AI. So AI actually falls into that basket as well. And I'm a pianist. And so if I was doing something around music, that'd be awesome, right? Maybe because I'm a diabetic, I might find some real internal motivation to say, can I do something great in that space? So those are a few areas that just in a second, I can be like, man, there's 20 businesses I could probably come up with just with my interests. So find something that you just love, and then vibe coding will apply to all of them.
And what about this approach? If you know what you like, say it's say it's astronomy. What if you ask ChatGPT, okay, identify 100 successful business models? So it'll be DoorDash and Uber and just like 98 other things, and for each one create an analogy for my interest, and then rank them from feasible to not feasible. Good way to.
Yeah, I wouldn't do 100, but I might do 10 or maybe 20. Right? 100's like the ChatGPT can do it.
Yes.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
We're not very good at processing that much information all at once. And so I would what I like to do is say, hey, give me 10 ideas, and then I'll narrow it down to maybe my top 2 or 3, and then I'll say, okay, these are my top 2 or 3, but is there anything else out there that we haven't thought about? What's better? Can we make this better? Can we make this even better? Like, ask that question 5 or 6 times, right? And really push it. Now, one of the things that's really important I want to bring up here is it's very easy to let AI take over, become the boss. You have to remember that you are the boss, right? We're the people, the humans that are going to actually do this. And so you might say, hey, I want an idea around, I want to be the Uber of insulin, okay? Oh, that's a great idea. Go do this. And then, okay, here's your business plan. Do you like this business plan? Yes, that's great. Hey, do you want me to build a marketing plan? Sure. Hey, do you want me to give you some posts to post today? Sure. Okay, now what have you contributed to this equation here? Yes, sure, I like it. Like, that's not cool. That's not your business. That's AI's business. And so you really have to learn how to flip the script and have it interview you. Have it ask you questions. Hey, will you interview me one question at a time about this topic, right? I really want to start a business, and I want you to understand what I'm thinking and where I'm coming from. Help me fill in the gaps, what I don't know, but I want you to really kind of pull these ideas out of my head. Okay, great. Now, how do we turn that into a business, right? But make sure you stay in control instead of just saying, yes, let's do that. Yes, let's do that. Hey, yeah, make those changes. That will be better. Great. Otherwise, if everybody in the world does that, we're going to have all this bland, boring stuff. But I care about what you think, James, right? I want what's in your head. You have this unique quantum computer in your head that is way more powerful than that AI right now, right? Even though the AI might be able to pretend it's smarter, really you have capacity as a human with creativity that it does not. And so get out of the way and let yourself let your ideas flow, and let AI just organize them and help you, give you ideas to spark the action.
Cool.
Fantastic. Good. Well, Devin, what's on your mind?
Yeah, so right now I'm working on a project. It's analyzing real estate deals in a geographical area. And really my question was, in terms of cybersecurity, how safe are these websites that we're having AI make? Are they open to cyber threats? What's that looking like?
Yeah, they're open to the same cyber threats that any website that a normal developer asked, Hannah asked earlier, are coders and developers still relevant? Maybe. In some degrees, yes. With GenAIPI, I have had 0 developers. And with my last business, I had to raise $13 million to hire 50 developers. Like, that feels like a change to me, right? I didn't need the developers. Now, will I at some point? Maybe. Yeah, maybe I don't want to do the vibe coding anymore. Maybe I don't want to deal with the platform anymore and my company's worth $100 million and whatever, Maybe I'll get there. I'm not there yet. But the reality is, whether you're asking a real developer or a vibe coding developer, is my site secure, right? Can this be hacked? Can this, are there any penetration tests we can run, right? I've paid, cybersecurity firms $15,000 for an assessment, and now I can just say, hey, Manus, will you try to break into this website and run through all this stuff? And Manus is another tool, an agentic system out there that you guys have probably played with. You can ask it to do that, and I'm paying $35 a month for that, and that's one prompt, and I get back this 15-page report on, hey, here's your grade, and I ask it to make a website on it and give me ideas on how I can fix this. Then I can take that report, give it back to Replit or Lovable or whatever, and say, hey, here's the report, let's close the holes, right? And then repeat that process so you feel good. The thing that's tough, if you're not a developer and you haven't been through some of this stuff, is most people just don't know to ask that question, right? They don't know you're not supposed to expose an API key because they're new to development, and they don't even know what that means or what the risk is, right? Oh, hey, my credit card just got maxed out because I left this API key open and someone stole it. And so it's really not that hard. It's not that hard for the AI itself, for the vibe coding platform, to plug the holes. You just have to make sure you go through that step, because it's not going to do it on its own. You're the boss again, and so you got to remember to take care of your people, because that's really who you're taking care of, right? It's your customers. A data breach is not going to help you get more customers, I promise. And so be sure to just think through that and remember to ask those questions about, hey, what am I not thinking about? I'm scaling. I'm about to go live. I'm about to launch. I'm about to put this public. I'm about to tie it to here. I'm going to run an ad campaign. What have we not thought about? Is the system ready? Is there anything that, and it's smart enough to know, oh, you're going live? Well, let's check on cybersecurity, right? Replit, I don't know what Lovable has on this, but Replit now has a security scanner, right? Where you just push security scan and it will check for exposed API keys and other problems like that, right? And so, anyway, the tools are getting better. They're gonna help you more and more and more avoid problems like that.
So for us at Tech Transfer, sometimes it feels like creating a product is a one-time thing. You just make this thing and then there it is. And it seems like your Proficiency Institute, it was that, you made the thing, but how much of your time is spent recoding, fixing problems?
With GenAIPI, I probably spent 35 hours before hitting go on that first Facebook ad. That was the launch, and did that, in a condensed 3-day period. And then since then, I've probably put on another 80 hours, right? And that's it's less fixing problems, it's more finishing features, right? There's things that, like admin features that are behind the scenes. Like, for example, one of the things on my site is you can go and pay for and take a 40-question AI proficiency test, and it's $39, and you go and you do this, and then you get a score, and if you get over 80%, then you get a certificate. But it's just a PDF, but it's got unique code and things that ties up into the database and things like that, and you have to be able to download the PDF. Well, when I launched, I didn't have that feature built yet. It was just like, oh, you can take the test and then it's in the database, and you would get an email that says here's your score, and then you could say, hey, I passed the test on whatever. But then I had somebody actually take the test and reach out and be like, hey, I'm trying to download my PDF and it's not working, and the button was there, but I hadn't turned it on yet. I hadn't worked through that, and so I had to go finish that, right? And you can't do that on a lot of features, right? One of the things that I really teach is when you are vibe coding, you're getting ready to launch something, especially if it's going to be in the public. It's not an internal tool, that you have more leeway with that. But if it's going out in the public and they're going to say, hey, do I want to give my money to this guy, right, or this company, right? You have to avoid paper cuts, right? You got to avoid hey, this button didn't work, that button didn't work, I clicked on the privacy policy, it went to a 404, or there was no privacy policy, or just little things like that. You have to really kind of be your own customer and say, would I give my money to this, right? Is there anything that's thrown up a red flag? Because people don't trust anybody these days. And so you got to get rid of the paper cuts, work through those little problems. But then when you add features, to get back into this a little bit, when you add features, sometimes you break things, So you have to learn how to be like, okay, look, let's add this new system without breaking anything. What's your plan? Tell me your plan on how we're going to do this without breaking things. And they're like, yeah, well, we are going to have to mess with this system because, this payment system's integrated to all these things, and we're going to change the workflow with this new email notification system. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, let's make a plan. Let's do this. But, I've spent plenty of hours in a loop, why will this dang thing not fix itself? Yeah. But I learn a ton when I do that. When I run into a problem and I work through it for 3 hours, even though I'm not a developer, I start to learn principles of, that's how that kind of system should work.
If someone's creating something new, like these guys are, should someone start with a minimum viable product, like a stripped down version? Or since the code's going to be created by AI anyway, maybe you should create full featured versions to start with?
Yeah, I like to push towards a minimum sellable product and maybe even a minimum lovable product, which are obviously two slightly different things. Sellable means someone will pay for it, but lovable is okay, I'm paying for it and I'm telling all my friends, right? And so you might not be able to launch with that because you might not know until after you launch, right? You launch and then get feedback and then iterate fast, and you have to be so willing to, you can't be married to your idea. You just can't be. You can't take it personal. It's okay if ChatGPT and you on your little strategy session where you figured out the business, if you're a little bit off, just move, and eventually money will just kind of start flowing, right? And you'll know you've hit your minimum lovable product. But yeah, because it's so easy, sometimes you want to launch a product with one core feature, but now you can launch with 1 and 3 support features and an admin and this extra thing here and a blog. I mean, because AI can write you 10 blogs really quick that help with your SEO. That's all structured properly.
Right. Well, good. Well, Wilson, what's on your mind?
I'm curious. Without a background, without a coding background, how did you get the necessary exposure to know how to code everything?
I didn't. That's the cool thing about AI, though, right? And it's more so today than it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, you had, it was all about, buy my prompt guide, the right prompt. And today, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, all these underlying models, all these LLMs have been trained to understand what you mean, what prompt you could have done to get the desired output based on what you said. And so the language of AI it's English, or it's Spanish, or it's Morse code if you like to communicate in that. It understands all of them. You just have to be able to describe what you want. Hey, this button doesn't work. I want it to do this. All right, I'm gonna get to work, right? Now, I'm somebody who likes to understand. When I hired CTOs and VPs of engineering and awesome developers doing crazy cool things, I liked to be, okay, how does this work? What's the math behind this? And even if I wouldn't understand it completely, I'd ask them and I'd try to understand it, partly because I was selling to customers like Google and Meta and Snapchat and Lego and Nestle and Walmart and huge companies. And I wanted to be the smartest guy on the call. At least have some language where I could say, oh, hey, this is how it works, and I don't need to get into these details, but this, I can impress someone really fast if I understand it really well, right? And so I just kind of got in this habit of starting to really understand how things work and how they fit together. And so even though I'm not a developer, when I'm vibe coding, I don't just say, do this, and then I switch windows and go do other things. I actually like to sit there and read what it's doing. Oh, I'm going to think through this. And it's cool because it will actually, most platforms will show you its logic and reasoning step by step. And sometimes I'll catch it and I'll be like, oh, I think it's doing the wrong thing. And I'll pause it and I'll say, are you sure you want to be focusing on that? I asked for this. I think you probably should do this. And it's like, oh, you know what? You're right. And so I've gotten smart enough to where I can tell the coding agent, I think you're doing this wrong, even though I'm not a developer, simply because I've spent time with it. I've just spent time. I'm a whitewater kayaker. I love kayaking. And to go down, I can make, at least sometimes, I have plenty of mishaps, but I can make a class 5 rapid look pretty easy, right? I just kind of, and I just go here, and I zip behind this rock, and I go off a 10-foot waterfall, and I'm good, right? And people will see a video and be like, man, that looks really, can I do that? And then they go try it and they flip over and they almost die and they're like, I'm never kayaking again. And they say, how do you get better? How do you get better at kayaking? And it's a very simple answer. Time in boat. That's it. That's the only way to get better at kayaking. You can watch all the YouTube videos you want. You spend all day on Instagram or on TikTok or whatever it is you want to do, and you can watch other people doing cool stuff. But until you get in the boat and you feel the water, right underneath your boat, and you feel the paddle and how all these things work, and you run into problems and you fix it, and you learn how to roll, and you learn how to just do all these things, you're not going to get better at kayaking. It's exactly the same with vibe coding. You just got to get in and get your hands dirty.
Great. And we've got, a group lovable account. That's the platform we're using. So these guys shouldn't be worried about credits. If someone's watching and they're a solo person doing this, they might think, I don't want to spend too much time on the platform. Is it, what can you do to make it more cost effective? I know some people will craft their prompts in ChatGPT, then paste them into Bolt or wherever, or what do you recommend?
So my wife was born in Moldova, and she had a very, very, very rough childhood. She has a twin, younger brother, 2 younger twins as well. So 2 sets of twin girls and a boy in the middle, all within about 5 years of each other. And both of her parents were alcoholics. They beat them all the time. And at age 5, my wife got up and they ran away. Ended up in an orphanage. Right? Took all the kids, took the babies, and ran away. And so anytime my kids complain, she just says, you're deaf ears here, right? You're not gonna pull that over on me. And then she was adopted, when she was 13, and has had a wonderful life since then. But I say that because when I wanted to even prove my idea that I started in 2016, I had to go raise $500,000 to pay developers to do it.
Yep.
And now I can prove an idea for like $8, or maybe $80, or maybe $150, right? I mean, the credits, the cost, the risk related to entrepreneurship now is at an all-time low. It has reduced by over 99.99%. It really has. I did the math on all the amount of code and lines and all the systems I had and everything, what it would have taken in 2020 to build GenAIPI. And it would have taken a year and a half, 18 months, and it would have taken $3.2 million to do that, paying all the salaries of all the people, like in the traditional way to build a business. I did it in 3 days, was cash flow positive 2 days later, and I did the whole thing, including buying the domain, registering the LLC, setting up the email accounts, everything, for about $300. $3.2 million to $3 million, 18 months to 3 days, right? We're in a whole new world.
Yeah.
If someone's worried about credits, don't be worried about credits.
Don't be penny wise.
And I personally don't love to use ChatGPT to build the prompts for Lovable or Replit or whatever, right? The models that are in there are really smart, and ChatGPT does not have access to the code base. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have the proper context to answer that question right. Now, occasionally I'll be like, man, if I'm really stuck, I might do that. But at least inside of Replit, which is my platform that I use a lot, it now has higher thinking models you can pay to get to have it think longer and deeper and really test itself and iterate and do some really amazing things. I have never personally had to go to ChatGPT to find a solution to the problem. Claude is brilliant. Mm-hmm. It's super, super smart and able to take care of it there.
Yeah, great. Well, good. Well, do you guys have any other questions? They're pretty good. If you, I don't know if you can talk about it or not, but you're doing some other AI educational things on campus at BYU.
Yeah, we're doing some pretty fun stuff here, and yeah, by the time this airs, it should be public. But yeah, we're partnering. I've partnered with the Built for Life program with BYU Athletics, and so all the amazing athletes that we have at BYU, I'll be doing trainings, group trainings, small group trainings, and providing access to a cool training platform that has a bunch of just all the types of things that I teach other businesses and things like that, and we'll be working with students to help them be ready for the workforce, right? So that's pretty cool. I'm also we're announcing this pretty quick here too. When the ads start going live, it's crazy how your life can change just in 6 months. I was not planning on doing this. This was a random dare for myself that I did publicly, and it just kind of took off. But about 8 weeks ago, I had Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi reach out to me, who are two just very brilliant people. And they said, hey, we're building a big AI a big AI thing for businesses and entrepreneurs, and we're going to put on, seminars, and we're having a book and all these different things, and they said, we'd like you to come lead the AI side. We want to make sure we're doing the right thing and sharing and teaching the right thing, and you've obviously figured this out. And anyway, so it's crazy, right? The types of opportunities that come out of just going for it, right? I mean, find your idea and go for it, and just push. And if you run into some blocks where you're just like, this isn't fun for me, or I don't think this is the right market. Okay, you've spent $100 or $200 vibe coding. Who cares? Let's pivot. Let's do something else. Let's try again. But if you push through and you love it, and that's something you really want to do and you believe in it, then it's the playing field has been leveled. You don't have to have the rich uncle anymore. You don't have to have you don't even have to be super smart about all these different topics, because you have AI to fill in the gaps where you might not have that strength yet, or as a student maybe just not that experience yet, right? And so you can have AI prop you up until you know what you're doing, right? And so it's less fake it till you make it. It's more you're backfilling with people that actually know, with knowledge that actually works, until you make it. It's way better than the fake it till you make it, which I had to do when I was starting back in 2016 with my first startup. So
yeah, well, it's an amazing time, and we're seeing an explosion of development here. So great. So John, I know you're a great follow on LinkedIn. So that's John Cheney on LinkedIn. Anywhere else people should look for you?
Oh, you can follow me on other places. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. My handle is usually @CheneyPiano. All right, so you can find me Instagram. I don't know, I occasionally post to TikTok. I'm a little bit older than that generation, but my kids think it's cool. So I post some things on there. I've gone viral a few times. I have a few videos that have 20 million views. So I know what I'm doing.
Is that like dancing and lip syncing, or is that...
No, I'm not dancing. I had one go viral just a couple days ago that was me playing the Cougar Fight song on the piano, just like a fun arrangement I made up on the spot, and I just posted it and everybody loved it. So that was cool. Anyway.
Okay, we'll check it out. Well, thanks a lot, John. Appreciate it.